Good afternoon, everybody. Scott Stevens here with a look at some of the weather across the country and around the world with some incredibly cool temperatures. Well, cold if you're Australian, down in that direction where they were bumping up on about -9 Celsius, which is in the lower 20s Fahrenheit. And cleanup continues in the northeastern U.S. after the wake of Isaias as he raced on to the northeast, dumping 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain in some locations, many places less, and a few others more than that. But everybody getting through and enduring the winds associated with that tropical storm, turned hurricane, turned camera dropout. Don't know why that's happening. It's been a little more frequent, so we'll have to figure that baby out in time. But nonetheless, we're underway. So let's just head on over there. Let's just jump on in. Thursdays are kind of interesting days for me. I like Thursdays for the simple reason that we get an update on some of the drought conditions going on around the country and, the United States, U.S. territories and so forth. We see those by Thursday morning as they cut off the precipitation that's fallen by 7 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays, and then they have a weekly update cycle. So not a daily thing, but a recurring thing. So this is essentially where we've seen increasing drought, is where we've got yellow in place across the southwestern U.S. The dryness continues. A little bit of more thunderstorm or monsoonal activity in place through New Mexico, parts of Colorado, and that has arrested the deterioration of the drought in those locations. So where we see gray, there is some level of drought, either just abnormal dryness all the way to severe or extreme drought. Where we see the green, we have seen some improvement of dry conditions in place. So degradation has happened in the upper Mississippi Valley, the American Southwest, and then a lot of improvement across Oklahoma, Missouri, portions of southeastern Kansas, and kind of Texas being a hodgepodge. Now, Isaias moved ashore just as we were beginning to see or approach the cutoff time across the Delmarva and the Piedmont, the Pontiac, the Potomac, and that direction, the Piedmont of Virginia. And then we'll see that widespread improvement across New England, where it has been a dry summer so far, and Isaias certainly impacted that, and that's kind of the good side. So as we look at the Atlantic, there's not a lot going on, not a lot at all. In fact, really no areas that they're watching closely, nothing through the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, or out of the open Atlantic as we move into the middle part of August. So that's not unusual, but considering how many storms we've already had, we're kind of due a break. All right, outside of Fountain, Colorado, which is very, very close. It's a southern suburb of Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is in one way or another famous for hail. If you ever do a little used car shopping in the Colorado Springs area, undoubtedly you will come across hail-damaged vehicles. Some of them pounded so severely that they end up being salvaged because of the intensity of the damage. So when you drive into a thunderstorm and it ends up being hail like this, you're going to get a congregation of drivers who say, "Not me, I want out of this." And so they will plug up the underpasses, hoping to protect their vehicle, to avoid having to come up with a deductible, or the damage so bad that they end up losing the vehicle, especially as we have vehicles that are a little bit older. Kind of curious that I keep dropping out here. So that was Colorado Springs. The other video, and I found this one kind of interesting. We're going to go full screen on this baby. We're down in Italy, Palermo area. And just off the shore, we've got the beach goers in place. Hey, Karen over there. And, as this water spout kind of situation, picking up water mist. Yeah, they're aware of it. They see what's happening. But as soon as this circulation center approaches the sand, we can begin to develop a different kind of electrical charge. And once that happens, then the intensity becomes very, very apparent. So if your windows were down in the vehicle, then you're cleaning out a whole lot of dust and sand, and there goes your beach gear up in the vortex as it begins to crawl skyward and slowly slowly this thing works across the parking lot, into the parking lot of the hotel slash, your bathroom areas, baños, and then into the parking lot. So just a mini F0 tornado, winds likely just at or under 100 miles an hour, but nonetheless, in that concentrated of an area, you're going to get scraped, scratches, so forth and so on. So yeah, kind of crazy for us weather guys, and certainly a surprise as things turned to the ugly side for those beachgoers. And that's really about it. If we didn't want to go revisit Chinese floods or clean up in the northeastern states, that was about the only exciting weather that I could draw to your attention to. Australia dealing with some of that cold weather, and that from this, let's see if I can zoom on in here, this kind of deep low that has worked its way across the continent. We'll see you come back on here. Let's do a little scroll on through, and it's going to take a day or two or three, and then even then there's almost another glancing blow as we get into the early part of next week as another cool storm moves on through, and then another one into Western Australia towards next weekend or the week after. But it is winter. So we have to expect that kind of weather as things turn wet, they turn cool. And then another area of unusually cool weather in western Russia. Deep lows in place. I'm just going to animate this because then I don't have to deal with the slider. They continue to drop in over this hot ridge that's got Western Europe nice and warm. That warm weather stays in place for a while. But as we mentioned, wherever there's a ridge and some heat and some hot weather downside of it, there has to be a cold trough. And so often that ridge here is then bookended by troughs on either side of it. And that's going to be the case there as well. Good to see you there, Risa. I gotta keep turning on my camera. I don't know why this is dropping out, but nonetheless, as long as I keep watching you, then I see the camera there. All right, stateside. Hot, the Southwest, it's just kind of a repeating record. And one of the reasons why I never really wanted to get into weather in Phoenix or Tucson or Vegas or even into California, just because that was such a boring job. Get me at least to Denver, where we've got the 4 seasons, or Albuquerque, where we have at least 3 seasons, the dry season plus spring winds and spring thunderstorms and occasional snow. But I just this area just would not have interested me as a weatherman. Be just 250 sunny days a year. I like it as a resident, but as a career, not so much. So with the Front Range, we've got the moisture returning back up under the high plains, and that's going to keep a little activity going on there. A little bit closer. Yesterday, we had a guy drop in and talk about trails, those contrails, those chemtrails. And in the vapor imagery, when we get between about 20 to 30,000 feet, we can see those stripes coming on in. And they always tend to be on the leading edge of high pressures. This is the trough right in here, moving through the southwest. That's triggered off some of the thunderstorms in the northern Rockies today. But watch how this... Let me come on up here. Watch how this deforms. And you can begin to see this one right here completely break. And without those trails, you wouldn't be able to see. And see, we had some satellite interference, probably some solar energy there. We wouldn't be able to see. I don't know if you guys can see this in here. How we've got a break in a trail here. And then we've got one come on right in through at a 90-degree angle. So there's some kind of measuring activity that these trails are doing up in the sky that allows the weather computer models able to better forecast, better anticipate that the weather conditions are going to do, because the Weather Service observing sites will send up balloons twice a day. And we'll get radiosonde data from that. But if you've got thousands of aircraft up there every single day, then you can begin to get a whole lot better data. And let's take the program just another step further. If they can leave straight lines in the sky, and we can see how these lines, twist, turn, big Z's and big changes in their shapes, and that data can then go into the weather models, then we can have a far more accurate assessment of what is happening up in the atmosphere. So this trail right through here, it's kind of barely there, becomes like the letter Z with a big zigzag in it, and then you kind of bound those two extensions, the spread in this one trail by two other trails. So, in my opinion, there's absolutely a program up there to leave these straight lines in the sky to then see how the atmosphere deforms, reshapes, and becomes weather down at the ground. So it's really kind of fascinating and an incredible program nonetheless. That if I had unlimited money, why not do that? Why not do that? Okay, out of the Atlantic, as the National Hurricane Center said, there's not much going on. A few clusters of thunderstorms, very little going on in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Haiti on the island of Dominica. And then the eastern states dealing with some showers and thunderstorms. There it is in radar with a few flood watches. The rivers are already a little bit on the high side in the Virginias because of Isaias earlier in the week. And then you've got some repeating thunderstorms just kind of sitting in place. And then you can dump a lot of rain in a very short amount of time. And if those rivers are even at 80% of bankful and you add this kind of thunderstorm activity on top of it with the 2, 3, 4 hours of heavy rain, you're going to send things very close to bankful. Severe weather last night erupting in southeastern Colorado, kind of drifting onto the south once again. And today we're seeing that southern monsoon happening. It's not widespread. There are a few good storms in there, but nothing too terribly potent, nothing really worthy of riding home until you get into like Boise City, Oklahoma, and out of the Panhandle, and then also out east of Fort Collins, Briggsdale, Oklahoma, and then east of Sheridan, Wyoming. A few short-lived, strong thunderstorms. Hey, I want to know, I know what those yellow images are. Scott, I thought you'd tell us about them yesterday on the show. Yeah, I did. I threw that up there. They're just basically assessments of the dryness of the atmosphere. Yellow is where the air is rather dry. And as we were watching tropical storms and hurricanes show up as they head into those dry zones, and they have to kind of bring their fuel with them or through their wind down below, create the mist and so forth and so on, and bring that moisture and heat off the top of the ocean, which they are surprisingly capable of doing. Still some triple-digit heat in Texas, New Mexico, more so in Arizona, where Phoenix had their warmest July on record. I think their average temperature through the whole month was bumping up on body temperature to about 98 point something degrees. So very, very warm. Tucson wasn't too far behind them, also with one of their warmest July on record at about 91 point something. So very, very warm. The East is really enjoying kind of the best weather possible. It's like an early arrival of fall. It's temporary. As that highs, across the Great Lakes states, New York State, across southern Ontario, and in Michigan, 70s with dew points in the 50s. So that's going to just yield some beautifully clear weather tonight. I know there's a few astronomers out there that are just like, yes, get rid of the clouds, let's see the skies. And then the warm front trudging northward through Oklahoma, returning the heat, returning the humidity. There's all those 100-degree temperatures in the hill country of Texas, moving up into the Texas Panhandle, and then another surge of moisture returning northbound on some 15, 20 mile an hour south winds through Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and then all of that moisture eventually will end up collecting once again in Canada, where they're likely to see another round of showers and heavier thunder showers. I know we're getting quite the education. A little bit at a time, Robin, a little bit at a time. You got to watch me for a couple of years before, I really dump the good stuff. That's just a joke, but there's a little bit of truth in that if you were watching me on the air back in the days. Showers really from coast to coast, more steady rains along the coastal areas of Washington and Oregon. Those are also one of the very dry areas, but they also have the capacity. These old forests of the Cascades can absorb a lot of water. So they can handle it this time of year. They can truly handle it. It stays in place just a day before that front races inland, and then the severe weather once again into the northern plains. But elsewhere, it's kind of tranquil. It really is just kind of tranquil. I did the 10-day temperature anomaly for 2 meters, or about 6 foot off the ground. So the west is likely to stay warm, cool along the Mississippi Valley. Lots of eastern Canada on the warm side. Greenland, very chilly, especially on the western side. And then western Canada all the way through the southern half of Alaska at or cooler than normal. Also cooler than normal through the coastal areas of into southern California. Precip-wise, at or below normal. Here's our scale, missing 5.5 inches worth of water, southern Florida, so that looks like they'll be dry. 2 inches or more in the red area, so a little bit dry on the Gulf Coast. This is also their tropical season, and if we're not having any tropical incursions, but just regular afternoon thunderstorms, then we begin to see our accumulated rainfall over the year begin to dry up. But just a few areas south of the Mason-Dixon line, up at or above normal precip, and then the mid-Missouri, mid-Mississippi River valleys, and then central Canada at or above normal for precipitation. We'll wind it up with record temperatures. Really nothing today. Come tomorrow, we get just west of Amarillo at Bergen, I believe is the name of the town, at about 105 degrees, which would just be shy of a record high. Nothing forecast for Saturday. And then Sunday, it continues in the Texas Panhandle as the warmer temperatures, even into Wednesday. So not a lot of record heat. Maybe next Wednesday, El Paso 101, which would still leave it at about a degree shy. Low temperatures, those are going to be coastal lows where we see temperatures a little bit cooler than records into Southern California as the marine layer remains in place. And my camera just will not stay on. You'd think it was Friday or something. Isn't it? Isn't it? Please, please, please let it be Friday. All right, that's kind of it for the day. Reset, did you, you love summer down there. The heat doesn't bother you at all. I know you've got that she shed. You've got air conditioning in there. You've got all your goodies right there, your little iced tea. You're set for summer. Us here too. I'm ready to turn the fan on as soon as the mic goes off because there's no AC in this house. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. Kind of a tranquil day. Not a lot going on around the world. They're really, China's flooding. We'll hit that on Monday, see what's happened with that. I know there's some rumors and talks around the Three Gorges Dam. We'll see if that can hold. Considering, I don't want to make a disparaging statement, but considering the quality of building that can happen over there, and since, it all is kind of built to government specs rather than, we have government specs, which are different than maybe what other entities would want their products built to. We'll see if this baby can survive what is undoubtedly at a minimum a 50-year flood, if not 100 or greater year flood event that's happening over in China. So that would be the big news. That would truly be the big news over the weekend, and otherwise it's just cleanup in the northeastern U.S. All right, guys. Yes, I know you, Risa. I know you. I sort of, but not really. All right, looks like I'll see if I can keep this camera on for the next 15 seconds before we end the show. All right, catch you tomorrow for another one of these as we wrap up the weather around the states. And it is my Friday. It sure feels like Friday. It really feels like Friday. All right, have a great evening, and I'll see you in 24 hours. Until then.